Morning, Sarah. Thank you so
Good.
much for your time today. I'm really pleased to have you. So, before we make a start, can you just take us through what you do? What is technology and AI representing what you do, and where you see the kind of next 3 to 5 years impacting everything that you do?
Good morning, Yusuf. It's nice to be here with you. Thanks for the opportunity to chat with you about these things. Yeah, I'm Sarah Noet, and I'm the founder and the CEO of Be the Change Global Goals Unity Initiative. And so I also am a senior UN fellow at the SDG Center in Geneva. So I'm also a chaplain at the Global Embassy of Culture for the U.S. Presidential Center in the United States, and I have a few different roles. So, and AI has a lot to do with it, and the reason why I'm, kind of like organizing and partnering these groups with each other for education, for sport, because I'm working with the development of smart athletic gear and working with the smart footballs specifically to start. I was the inventor of the SDG World Cup Unity Ball this year. So it was really fun to, right now I'm working with, the differently abled Olympic groups because, the Youth Olympics is coming up in Senegal in October this year. And so we're planning to and then I'm working with Football 7 worldwide in Spain. And the AI and what I see it happening in the next 5 years is some really fun evolution, whereas we're educating more with sport and fashion and then streaming it through the supply chain of the planet, directing it to the 17 SDG goals. So we're about to add more fun when learning. I hope you're ready.
That's amazing. And let me just say, it's very refreshing to hear Americans say football rather than soccer. So thank you for that.
My
The World
pleasure.
Cup was quite intense the last couple of weeks. So that's pretty interesting. So I guess my first question is around, obviously you're trying to measure something notoriously unmeasurable, which is social impact, and you're using AI to do it. Can you just take us through what is the process for that? How do you measure social impact first and foremost, and then how do you use technology to, whether represent, amplify, or do any changes with that?
Yeah, so good. Several years ago, I patented and I invented a concrete power trowel drill bit, which is kind of what set me with and then I started working globally because concrete and water are number one and two in the globe. And I work with concrete and water. Like, that's like my foundational base as I work with the ground, literally. And so in the water. And so, as far as social impact and the measurement of it is, you know, um, there's a lot of drama that goes around the COPs. I don't know if you've heard about COP 28, COP 30. And I'm working actually with the leaders with Green Thinkers on the Ethiopia COP 32 right now. So I'm really excited. And we're just talking about COP 31 in Turkey right now for this year. But so the deal is the planetary goals are the social impact can be measured by using the sustainable development goals that the countries in the UN have been working with for many years now. And so how we're measuring it with the Global Goals Unity Initiative with Be the Change is we're digitally twinning the companies that we're working with, the manufacturing supply chain, and we're bringing truth to power with their hiring practices, ESG, social responsibility, and these kinds of metrics that directly correlate to planetary impact goals. So we can actually digitally measure social impact with regards to the planetary goals by way of embedding our chips into the balls, because then we're also vetting out the companies that are producing the equipment as well as the companies that are receiving the equipments, because on either chain we're measuring these things so that we can move the needle for planetary balance.
That's really interesting. What made the ball the right object for that?
5 billion eyes watching it. Marketing.
Right.
Honestly, right? And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we actually we have as many things as you can think of we can digitally twin, and we're planning to, and that's what we're going to do for the planet, because we can measure the supply chain metrics to, for child slavery items overseas, or wherever it is at, and especially with the environmental practices, because one of the reasons why I started working so much with the planet is because I started working with how to clean the ground and the water from like toxic chemicals. And so I have four boys and they like to play sports. And, we were by one of the baseball fields that says, don't let the kids play because there's lead in the dirt. And it was the same summer that I was working with a group where we were cleaning lead from the soil with this mineral. You just spread this mineral in the soil and it absorbs the lead and the toxins. It's so easy. Literally, you spread the mineral on the floor and it absorbs it. You don't have to even leave. And so for
Hmm.
me, it was like a light bulb came on that I realized we just needed more people in the world like me that could correlate these things together and work with these solutions for the planets, like especially for the kids. So that's what we're building.
That's brilliant. That's really good. I guess when you were at the SDG Center in Geneva, you were working on some AI platform for impact. So what did you see in there that, kind of made you make the shift to go and do your own thing, and what you learned from that experience that kind of shaping what you do today?
That's a good question, especially because, like, as a mom and with AI, and I feel that, and I have a degree in sociology and psychology, and I really kind of think about like how we work. And so I have a computer science minor from the 90s back when I went to college. And, through the years in my previous life before kids, I say, I would fly by all the systems, right? I was just as fast as everybody else. And then after I had children, your brain, Yusuf, a woman's brain, it changes when you have babies. It's the wildest thing. Like, I had twins, and that really threw it for a loop. And so when I came out of that fog, and then you have to deal with, as a woman, you've got LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, you're talking to a toddler changing babies, and then you're talking to a CEO. So it's like to go back and forth from this language of love and business. It's one of the reasons I believe why women struggle with getting into it, is because that space that exists, that transition space from going from the child rearing and the babies back into business. So AI, I really believe, can help us close that gap. And I've enjoyed like learning about many of the tools, you know. And my partner at the SDG Center, Asif Kabani, is one of the best in the world with AI. So I'm just really blessed that I have a partner so gifted and talented with the type of AI that the planet needs. And then for me, as a partner who's a very hypersensitive mom for the planet. So we're a good pair.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Good analogy to think about. Can you tell me an example where that helped? Like, obviously the sprinting between being a mom and also, talking to CEO and running a business. Where were there some AI use cases where, oh, I'm glad that I don't have to do, I don't know, maybe it's a proposal, maybe it's a summary of a document, maybe it's a presentation, maybe it's something deeper than that. That was quite useful.
We recommend a lot of people to try it out for resumes, because as we all know, resumes is kind of the bane to the job's existence, especially for moms getting out of the, switching into the one workforce, the other workforce, right?
Yeah.
That's really, it's a godsend for these kinds of developments. So the advancement of AI for the planet to help people not have to, go to Fiverr for a resume or something like that. They can use Claude or something instead. I think that that's great. And, as a good example as how AI is so helpful, because the work that I'm doing right now, we wouldn't be able to do it without AI, because the gap that I noticed with the Unity ball was actually with the baseballs, because, my sons play baseball, honestly, not football, even though, I love sports and I love, team sports and mental development for children. It's exciting for me. But with the AI, when the when the teams buy the baseballs, there's margins that we're losing, that it causes the lack of inclusion for our children to enter into some sports sometimes. And so if the teams learn how to buy their own ball from the manufacturing company. So I'm a chapter president of the Asia Business Forum group out of Pakistan as well. And so, the balls and the athletic gear I get as wholesale, right? They're a fraction of the cost that the schools are buying them for their programs. So the schools can't even pay for uniforms, they can't pay for safety equipment, they can't pay for all these things because their balls are so expensive because they've been hijacked by corporate margins that we're going to be sucking back. Sorry, guys. And then, or ladies, we're going to be sucking back and we're going to be putting into the hands of the teams of the clubs. So now, as a club, you can manufacture your own ball, you can have your own digital twin dashboard where you can have your legacy for your team, and then that way the teams also can sell their own merchandise. They can sell their own balls, they can sell their own equipment. They make half the profit. The other half of the profit goes into the education fund that we're educating them and the community for, but we're teaching them earlier how to have a business and make money as a team. And it's a different way to fundraise. It's not a fundraiser where you're just asking to sell someone else's popcorn.
Interesting.
We're teaching the team how to have a business.
Yeah, yeah. I guess the education curve there is quite steep, isn't it? With that, I'm assuming you get a lot of data from, youth and people across the world. Do you use that data in any way, shape, or form? Do you see any sort of opportunity where that data from, I don't know, Africa, Southeast Asia, even Europe, can be helpful in terms of how you strategically move going forward?
It's so important. All of the work that goes through what we're doing is connected to grants for the reasons, for the data, so that we can help educate in a better way. We can help learn. We can help communities preserve their history. It's hard because there's so many bad actors out here, right? You never know what like data. There's so much talk
Yeah.
over data. What are you going to do with the data? Well, what we want to do with it is we want to use it to prove our social impact metrics, right? Because without the data, we can't show the difference. So with the data, we can show the difference. We can show how much better we're educating people. We can show how much further along we're getting in the system with the data. Without the data, we can't do that.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And that's
data
not
is
what we
kind
want to
of
do.
data is like, the bridge between your opinion and what really should happen in the real workforce. So obviously you talked a bit about your digital twin football that you take into the car this October. Can you tell us a little bit more about the technology when somebody scan that QR code, what happens? What are your kind of expectations in terms of this initiative and what you're trying to do with it? And just tell us a bit more about it.
Absolutely. We're working with university systems and teams for education. We're gamifying physical therapy techniques. We are gamifying cleaning up the planet by impact projects inside the technology. We're starting with basic education, especially in Africa, right? Because that's just what we need to do. But we know that, the minds are brilliant all over the world. So, even though we have to implement like basic needs, humanitarian, education, water, homes, and these kinds of things. The idea is that we are working with the university systems to educate more on the planetary goals earlier so that as planet, humans can learn earlier what kind of things that they can do to make her last better and be prettier, the earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have like really exciting plans because how it started last year was working with the Pakistan floods. When I was working with the floods in Pakistan and the climate pressure from so many billions of balls, also being moved from Pakistan out of the world. And so, one of the things that I'm working with the ministers of education in these countries and or, I'm not working, I am like kind of threaded up through to them, but our goal with the ministries of education is not to take away from any group. Like Pakistan's done a great job building their football manufacturing world, right? Well, they're also great with technology. And so Africa is going to be learning how to make and build and manufacture their own balls, but it's going to be a shared economical system with Pakistan because Pakistan is helping them and partnering with a lot of these schools to help with the digital twin technology aspects of it and to share this growth and education together. So
That's amazing.
we're
So if
sharing the economy.
yeah, if that works, that the bill works, what is the next object that on your plan to implement this technology on?
We're gonna do it on all the things. I can't wait. Well, we because one of the things that I'm a part of is the Inferno Runway, which is it's been rumored to be Africa's biggest fashion reality TV show, but I'm not sure if that's the actual. I don't know how that metric works, but we've done 2 seasons of Project Runway Inferno in Africa, and so in Nigeria. And we're doing 2 more seasons this year where we teach refugees how to make clothes and design and be models. And it's a TV show. And then they go to the fashion shows. And so it's really fun. We're doing 10 countries next year, 30 countries the following year, up to all of the African countries by COP32 or by 30. Sorry. And so we're putting chips in the clothing. We're putting them in swimsuits and shoes and hats and these kinds of things as well. Because if you can imagine being on a boat or something out in the woods and being able to tap on your swimsuit or your shoe and like getting help like to your body, the amount of help that's just going to be for safety. And especially for kids at summer camps, you can put them on the shirts and then we know where our children are, you know. So the technology exists already. I understand that, and I'm a part of that as well. Like I was an early entry last year when this technology started advancing. The difference that we're doing with the manufacturing supply chains is we are threading them through to the planetary goals. So the countries have SDG goals, and their goals are to fix their hiring practices, their environmental social responsibilities, all these things. And so with the country goals, if we digitally twin some of these companies, we can really find out the data to drive the impact.
That's amazing. That's really good. I guess one of my favorite questions is the next one is pretty much around youth and people who coming into, the SDG industry or coming around this domain in general. What would you say in an age of AI, the core skills for that? What do I need if I'm just leaving uni? I'm really inspired by your journey and this podcast conversation. What do I need to learn to be better and be ready for SDG in a world of AI?
In a world of AI with SDGs, how to be ready is to be open for innovations, because if you keep your mind open for opportunity and not closed with, so many people are just so disgruntled over, the what they perceive as failures on certain situations. And some people want to just break down systems. But what we need to use AI for is to find the truth to power in the systems. We do not need to break down the systems. All we need to go do is have AI vet out the systems, find the problems with the existing systems, and then work on those problems with the existing systems. Because we know it takes so much longer to start something new than it does to sometimes fix something that might, we just have to keep fixing it. But I would just, if for people that are like just learning about SDGs, I just learned about SDGs this past year. Like I haven't even known about SDGs for 1 year, and already look where I'm at, right? So it's like I'm not superhuman. People can do what I'm doing. They just need to really focus and work on the planet and each other. Love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And unfortunately, right now, there's so much hate and chaos in the world that within is confusing, you know? It's like it's sometimes people don't feel like they have that in within. And what I feel is that the earth and our bodies are connected. And so we just have to, one step at a time. People think like getting a grant takes so long. Well, getting a job takes a long time too. But at the same time, like, grants are a beautiful thing. And in my opinion, if that's another thing that you learn a lot about the planet when you try to get grants for things. So I would also suggest people to just go out there and try to get a grant. Like, who knows? You might just get $100,000 land in your lap.
Yeah, if you're lucky. That sounds good. Where do you see AI not being useful, or people are very skeptical of using AI in what you do today? Where would you say, if I'm an intern, I'm just working for you, just start working, where would you say, no, don't even think about using AI on this. This has to be you. This has to be your thoughts, or your own creation, versus yeah, you can use AI for that. That I don't mind.
An AI hallucinates, we know this.
Yeah.
So we have to, and if you have a lucid mind, like some founders, most founders, I think, have a lot of, we get out there. So when we work with AI, it just can hallucinate as well. So we have to be really careful that we use, they have things that you can put into like the Claude that say, do not hallucinate, use only facts, don't bring back anything without facts. So, I use AI where I tell it to not give me anything other than the facts. And then, but sometimes when I'm brainstorming, I don't mind it hallucinating just for fun. But I do get concerned with the negative. I'm constantly telling some of my AI chats to stop holding me back. I'm like, stop holding me back. I've already done these three things. Like sometimes it will literally hold you back and say, okay, you can't do this until you do this. Whereas I know differently for my own work. And as a leader, I also fear that that would get ingrained with people using AI that aren't like me, that can't fight my, like I argue with my AI a lot in a kind way because I want my advice. But that's what, and then the writing, we want to make sure that our storytelling and stuff is like our own stories. But with solving problems, I think AI is great sometimes when people get spiraled and go round and round with stories. They can just pull it back for AI, and I feel like AI could just kind of like dumb it down that way sometimes too. Take the emotions
Yeah.
out of it. Thank you. Yeah, no, we're working on the the new maybe SDG 18, which is around AI and space, and we're having a lot of talks and climate summits on that. So I'd recommend if anybody's interested in catching up on the AI SDGs for the governance around AI and space. We're working on that right now at the planetary goals. So, Yusuf, it's just
Yeah.
been such an honor to visit with you about this, and thanks for inviting me.
No problem. Thank you.